Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here to your nation's capital. Coming up at 8:05, Jerry Dunleavy will join us, talk about why he's leaving as a senior investigator of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House. Apparently there's some issue with the way they conducted the investigation of the Afghanistan withdrawal. Jerry is not pleased with that, and we're going to hear from him. And then at 8:35, Nell Gardner, Heritage Foundation, on the latest threat to free speech in England. It's pretty scary when you see what's going on in Great Britain. So we'll find out from Niall exactly what it's all about. I'm Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
And here she is. She is Caroline Sunshine. She's the Deputy Director of Communications for Donald Trump for President. And may I say, because she was a former Disney star, I have increased credibility with my children because I have regular interviews with you, Caroline. So thanks for that.
Good morning. How are you? Great to
you used to dance with Zendaya, for God's sake. That's huge in my family.
Sure did.
Cool. So I got to ask you, I mean, Donald Trump's got a lot on his plate, and I know that there's a lot of lawyers involved in all the stuff that he's dealing with. But is he hiring some lawyers for the plagiarism here? Because seriously, it's not like Kamala Harris stands for a lot. But it seems like she keeps stealing policies from she's running to secure the border, bring down the cost of living and inflation, and now she wants to eliminate taxes on tips. What do you do at this point when you're running against her?
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew that Donald Trump's policies were popular with everybody. I just didn't know they were popular with Kamala Harris. I guess Kamala Harris is just deciding to run as Donald Trump because, like you said, when she's not flip-flopping on every public policy position she's ever held, whether it is on fracking or the border or defunding the police, take your pick, she's now moved on to plagiarizing. And like you said, if you or I plagiarize, you remember when you were in school, if you plagiarized something, I mean, you'd be kicked out. If you plagiarize something at work, you'd be fired. But when Kamala Harris does it, the liberal mainstream media, absolute crickets. Do you think she'll be asked about it? No, because she hasn't sat down for a single tough interview or done a single tough press conference. And so you can start to actually see how all these forces start to work together, right? She gets to do whatever she wants without consequence, and she doesn't have a liberal mainstream media that will hold her to account. However, we intend to hold her to account and make sure voters know the truth of who Kamala Harris is and what she stands for, which, like you said, isn't a lot. But specifically on the no tax on tips policy, I mean, it's brazen. President Trump literally announced that policy, no tax on tips, his policy, on June 9th, over 2 months ago. 2 months later, just a few days ago, August 10th, Kamala Harris comes out, plagiarizes it as her own. But what's worse, actually, is the fact that the Biden-Harris administration just this past year, actually under their IRS, passed a rule saying more tax on tips, literally the exact opposite. So not only is she a plagiarizer, but she's an absolute liar and fraud, obviously, but literally just this past year, more tax on tips. So the question is, of course, if Kamala Harris, is all for no tax on tips now, well, one, why are you plagiarizing President Trump's policy? But two, why haven't you done it already? And in fact, why did you allow your IRS to do more tax on tips? These are the questions the liberal mainstream media should ask her. Of course, they won't. So once again, the Donald J. Trump campaign will be doing the job of campaigning for president and playing the job that our media should be playing in this country.
Well, it's interesting, too. Donald Trump last night goes on this 2.5 hour appearance on X, having this really interesting conversation with Elon Musk on all matter of things. And Kamala Harris hasn't done anything with the press, as you've mentioned. Their statement on the Donald Trump Elon Musk conversation is so defensive. It's actually really funny. They put out this statement saying Donald Trump's extremism and dangerous Project 2025. They're still hung up on Project 2025 is a feature, not a glitch. They go on to say Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out to the middle class. What's so funny is they're saying it was in service to Elon Musk when we could all tune in, and millions did. And it was an unfiltered conversation. Did you see this statement, and what's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is exactly that. She hasn't sat for she couldn't do a stream like last night. There's a couple of things to say on that. She couldn't do that for even 5 minutes, and they know it. Also, I think Kamala Harris's real constituency is who? MS-13 gang members, thugs and criminals, and Greta Thunberg. I mean, this is a woman that wants to ban fracking. This is a woman, like I said, no matter what kind of flip-flopping she does, she says she wants to ban fracking, defund ICE, defund the police. She's a border czar who's never been to the border. When she went to pretty much the Four Seasons version of the border. She has never called her Border Patrol even once, her Border Patrol chief, current and former. I mean, her policies, I would say you can take the woman out of San Francisco. You can't take San Francisco out of the woman. This woman's policies read like a wish list for MS-13 criminals, thugs, gang members, Greta Thunberg, the like. But the stream last night, such an interesting conversation between President Trump and Elon Musk. And what you could tell is President Trump I actually saw Greg Gutfeld post this on X, and I thought it was really accurate. He was like, I've never seen somebody who has such a command of all of these complex issues and can have this kind of winding conversation where the topic bounces from nuanced discussions about the American energy sector to, conversations about EV vehicles and space and just going from topic to topic, no problem. Kamala Harris couldn't do that for 5 minutes, and they know it. And also, I guess I'd like to check that statement for plagiarism. Are they plagiarizing anything else we've said? I guess we're going to have to take a closer look. We should have plagiarism watch on a daily basis for the Harris campaign.
We're speaking with Caroline Sunshine. She's the Deputy Director of Comms for Donald Trump for President. So I'm just curious, going forward, the strategy for President Trump in terms of trying to sort of reset. Obviously, you guys had an entire strategy, an entire game plan focused on Joe Biden. And the good news is you defeated Joe Biden. Joe Biden quit in a humiliating fashion. But now you've got a whole new opponent. And of course, you're right to complain that she has not done any real interviews. She hasn't done any media appearances. She hasn't even put policies out there, and she's getting this incredible, full body massage from the mainstream media who are holding her up to any scrutiny. But you can't just complain about it. You got to figure out how you're going to deal with it. So from this point forward, you got 80 days left. What is this sprint to the finish line to make sure that you can get back on message, to make sure that the American voter knows that Trump stands for something other than just being angry that the media isn't holding Kamala Harris accountable? Because guess what, Caroline? The media is never going to hold Kamala Harris accountable.
Exactly, because the sky is blue. But it's an important observation because it starts with having an accurate assessment of reality and the dynamics at play. And the truth is that a lot of the dynamics here in 2024 are shaping up to look a lot like how they did in 2016. Everybody knows that when you run as the Republican candidate for president, actually it's not even the Republican candidate for president, it's when you run as the anti-establishment candidate for president, which is what Donald Trump has always ran as and continues to run as this cycle. Whenever you run as the anti-establishment candidate, you're not just running against the Democrat nominee for president. You are running against the liberal mainstream media and the swamp apparatus that always chooses their candidate. And what you're watching is Kamala Harris get the Hillary Clinton treatment, which is where you have somebody who's far more liberal than where the average American is at, doesn't resonate with people in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, take your pick. But you have a liberal mainstream media that'll work overtime to put celebrities up on stage with them, turn them into a likable girl boss, give them the full Hollywood treatment. That's just the dynamics of what you're always up against. But we think that the liberal mainstream media can be incredibly dismissive of the American people, that like what you saw in 2016, they have a real contempt for the American people. And Donald J. Trump isn't just running against Kamala Harris. He's running against the entire dishonest establishment in this country that you think would have learned its lesson all the way back in 2016 and proves time and time again that it hasn't. So our strategy is to be aware of those dynamics and keep bringing President Trump's message anytime, any place, anywhere directly to the American people. You watch him do that a variety of ways, whether that was, last week, taking questions for over an hour from the media. Obviously, last night's stream with Elon Musk, you saw him a week ago going to the National Association of Black Journalists. He's on the road all the time. You saw J.D. Vance taking tough interviews over the weekend, our rallies, seeing record crowds, and continuing to keep the focus on the American people and their problems, because the other dynamic here is that there's a reality that doesn't change whether Kamala Harris is at the top of the ticket or any of the other dynamics at play here, which is that when the American people we know the issues that are most important to the American people, right? It's inflation, it's immigration, it's the economy. Kamala Harris does not have solutions or ideas that are relevant to Americans on any of those topics. I mean, this is a woman that wears a $62,000 Tiffany necklace around her neck every day and gets up and says Bidenomics is working. She's proud of it. While the average American family, it's costing them $28,000 extra dollars a year just to afford the cost of living. You know, I get text messages from people all the time saying, this is crazy. I went to the grocery store and I didn't buy alcohol, I didn't buy paper towels, I didn't buy meat, and my grocery bill's $150. And, you know, 2 years ago, the cost of baby formula was $22 a package. Now it's $45 a package. So there's a reality that for the American people has been a tremendous amount of really economic suffering that's been inflicted on them because of the Biden-Harris administration. You know, that's not going to change or get better in the next 80 days. So President Trump just intends to keep the focus on, you know, those issues and be truthful, and he doesn't need to plagiarize other policies.
They basically, you're still running against Biden. They just sort of, you know, changed costumes, but it's the same.
Well,
it's the same candidate. It's the same policies, and she can't be trusted. All right. Good.
Well,
Caroline
she definitely has a record, but she also, as you said, has her own, you know, her own unique record. You know, she isn't Joe Biden. She's actually far more liberal and far more extreme. She really resembles more Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. And so we also intend to make sure voters know the truth of who she is.
Caroline Sunshine, thanks for joining us.